All right, back for part 3 of the garden prep video on this very cold day. As you can see, I am mixing up the Epsom salt, which I'm going to add into the new soil that I am making. I'm over there in the corner. Sweeping up the area that I had my garden last year, sweeping it up, making it look clean. Everything has to look good. I've got my cardboard boxes that I have flattened out. That's what I'm going to put on that area, on that concrete area. I'm going to lay it flat. That's where the containers are going to go on top of. I don't want to sit them directly on the concrete because they can discolor the concrete once I start watering and fertilizing the plants. So I've got the cardboard boxes there that I'm going to lay down, put the containers on top of. Again, this is a very cold day. So again, I've got my podcast, I've got my Bluetooth in my ear, listening to my podcast. So I'm occupied doing that while I'm working on the garden. And again, I will go inside because a lot of times it's cold and I need to warm up my hands and then come back outside. As you can see, the containers, they look like they mostly have the soil that I'm actually going to recycle in them. And the sweet potato containers, the 2 blue ones and the light green, they have the most soil. And that's and I've got the peat moss over there, and I've got the perlite. So at this point, I haven't really mixed those in yet. So right now, I'm just using it looks like a driveway cleaning solution that I'm using to clean that area up. So I'm cleaning up, washing it out with water. So that's what I'm doing there. But so just kind of to recap, right now in the 2 orange buckets that is next to the blue trash can, which is on top of the cardboard box to the right of where I am right now. Those have the broken down leaves, and they also have the broken down branches that I'm going to mix with the soil. So that's what I have there. I have the leaves that I'm continuing to break down right now to finer leaves so that I can add it into the soil. I've got the branches, I've got the peat moss, I've got the perlite, I've got the Epsom salt that I've mixed up in that water jug over there. I've got my fertilizer also that is in that black container that's in front of the grill. There's a black container that's in front of the grill with the garden tool inside of it. That's the fertilizer. That's water and the fertilizer mixed together. And the fertilizer that I use is the Job's organic fertilizer, the one that is for fruits and vegetables, and that works very, very well on the plants. I really see a huge improvement when I use them on my plants last year. So again, let's see what I'm doing now. So right now it looks like I'm actually gonna drill this container right now. I'm going to drill this container so that I can I'm drilling the drainage holes into the container right now. That's what I'm doing. I believe I've already done that for the other containers that are laying there. I believe I've already done that. So what I'm doing here, I am adding about a quarter of the soil that I'm actually going to recycle. Adding about a quarter. Okay, adding about a quarter. Adding about a quarter of the peat moss, and there's a lot of peat moss, by the way. It's a whole lot of peat moss. And about a quarter of the peat moss, adding a good amount of perlite. I've got a couple bags there, a good amount of perlite. Adding the broken down leaves, the broken down branches, adding the Epsom salt mixture, adding the fertilizer, and I'm going to mix all of that in. So all of those materials are good organic compounds that will go into the soil, especially the leaves and the branches. Those are wonderful organic compounds that will continue the growth of the plants and will make the soil thrive very well so that the plants can continue to grow in them. So that's what I am mixing up there. Again, my dog is out there, Tiger, you know, he's supervising, he's helping out, and at the same time, he's just wandering around. You know, again, it's the life of a dog. Look at him right now. He does that a lot. He likes to lick himself. Just the life of a dog. It's amazing, isn't it? So, on this very cold day, so that is what I'm doing over there right now. I am mixing the soil that I don't need or that I don't want. I am actually putting it in the yard. So I am filling the areas where when it rains, where the water pools very high, I am filling those areas with some soil because those areas of the grass are very low. So I am filling those areas, and that's what I was doing when I went over to the corner of my yard there. All right, so right now I am putting the new boxes, fresh boxes. Look at those, they look crisp. New boxes, putting them on the concrete floor, and I've got some over here too on the left side, and I've got things set up looking nice. And after this, I will show the end result, which will look great. And so right there, I've got the boxes, still working on the boxes, flatten out the boxes. By the way, this day probably took about 2 hours, maybe more, to finish this. Total time that it took to prep this garden for this year probably is about 5 hours. Yeah, it took a lot of time. The part one was about an hour. It was on an evening where I was being a little bit ambitious. That took about an hour and some change. The part two took about an hour, 2 hours. Part three, 2 hours plus. Okay, so it's a lot of time, and it was very cold again. So that's what I'm doing there. Like, I'm adding the Epsom salt to the buckets. I've got all the buckets spread around. I'm adding the leaves, adding the branches. I've broken all of those down, and I'm gradually adding them to each container. I'm adding the perlite to each container. Actually, that was peat moss. That's the old bag of peat moss. So I'm cutting up the new bag of peat moss right now, which I still have a ton of. I didn't realize how big this peat moss bag was, but I mean, I definitely got a lot of money for that size. Peat moss are not that much expensive, but that's a big bag. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm adding to each container, and when I'm the size or the level that I'm getting at is midway. So all of the things that I'm adding, I'm trying to get the content of the recycled soil to be midway of the container. Okay, I'm not trying to fill up the containers. I'm trying to get them midway. So when I start planting, I actually want to, when I transfer the plants from, let's say, the medium-sized container to these larger size containers, I want to plant them when the soil is is halfway, so that as they grow and mature, I will add more soil on top of that, so that I can secure the base of that stem, secure it very tightly. And I just feel like you can control the growth a little bit better that way. You can control the growth a little bit better that way. I mean, the only thing there that you can risk is exhausting the nutrients of the soil, but I will continue to fertilize, and I will continue to add organic. I was gonna say inorganic, but add organic components, materials to the soil. And again, fertilizing the soil also adds those good bacterias. Well, I don't know if they're good or not, but the good bacteria to the soil, that is. But it's going to add those good bacteria to the soil that will continuously break down the organic compounds and release other compounds that will provide a lot of nutrients for the soil. Yeah. So I'm mixing everything together there. I'm trying to make a homogeneous mixture, mixing everything together to make sure that everything is evenly spread, evenly distributed. I'm adding more peat moss there, I believe I've already added the perlite. So yeah, I've already added the perlite. Everything is completed there. Everything is completed. So I am putting everything back, or putting everything to where I want them to be. Now in future videos, you're gonna see that once I transplant, because I've started my garden early. So once I've transplant some of the plants in the medium container to large containers, I'm actually going to put them in my greenhouse to continue to grow, because it's not fully warm yet for them to continue to grow. Not fully warm yet. So yeah, so there it is. Everything is completed. So stay tuned for the end result. Stay tuned for the end result after this little break. Stay tuned. All right, this is everything completed. This took about 5 hours today. I am ready for this year's growing season. Looks beautiful. Recycled soil, fertilized, used perlite, pea moss, Epsom salt, and fertilizer. Everything is looking good. I am ready. This is Dap the E-Vegan. I'll be putting out more videos and content. So please like, subscribe, and share for more updates. Continue evolving. Peace. Also, use my referral code in the description below to get 1,000 miles of free supercharging with the purchase of a new Tesla.